Until the end of World War II, North and South Korea were one nation, one culture. Today, they are two drastically different countries. Dae-sung Kim knows both.
When I escaped from North Korea, I was 27. I crossed the Jangbaekhyun River into China. There were too many North Korean security guards patrolling there. So I walked the mountain trails at night with no food for a week. I went hiding during the day and walked the trails at night again.
In desperation, Dae-sung Kim fled North Korea. He had been trading goods across the border in China to provide for his parents and siblings, and had learned he was on a watch list for illegal trading. His life was in danger. He and his younger sister would have to flee. In the dark of the night, they crossed into China.
I was not without fear. It was the fear of getting caught and eventually getting shot to death if brought back to North Korea, and the fear of punishment to my family.
Defectors who are caught and returned to North Korea face imprisonment, torture, and often execution. Nearly 3,000 North Koreans escape to the south each year.
I brought my younger sister with me. Unfortunately, in China we were separated. While I was away, someone kidnapped her. After losing my sister, I came to South Korea alone.
Dae-sung hoped he could do more to find his sister from the safety of the south.
When I first arrived in South Korea, I worked for a delivery service before enrolling in Hankuk University.
While studying at the university, Dae-sung received a call from South Korean authorities. His younger sister had been found.
My younger sister had managed to escape to South Korea. She told me that our older sister had also escaped and was living somewhere in China. So I arranged to bring my older sister here to South Korea too.
One of the most repressive regimes in the world today, North Korea has maintained an aggressive policy of international isolation. A leading scholar on North Korea is Andrei Lankov.
It's a very simple story in North Korea. It began as a Stalinist country, and in the late 50s it decided to become hyper-Stalinist. They developed an economic model which Joseph Stalin himself would probably find somewhat excessive. Everything was rationed. The government decided how much grain or soy sauce or cloth you should consume, depending on your place in the official hierarchy. This economy did not work. And when the Chinese and Russians stopped providing aid in the early 1990s, the North Korean economy essentially collapsed.
The regime was unable to adapt. They could no longer provide the food on which its people had depended. Famine was widespread. It is estimated that at least 500,000 and possibly as many as 3 million North Koreans starved to death.
There were times when I went without food for a whole week. During those days, my only dream was to eat a stomachful. When I came to South Korea, I saw food was plentiful. Nobody seemed to care about eating a stomachful. They have other dreams instead.
How did this incredible contrast between North and South Korea come to be? For centuries, North and South were one unified country, living under the shadow of its three larger neighbors, Russia, China, and Japan. In 1910, Japan claimed the Korean peninsula for itself and went on to occupy the region for 35 years. When Japan was defeated at the end of World War II, Korea was finally liberated by the Allies. But there were two visions of a post-war Korea: a Soviet vision of a centrally planned economy to oversee the North, and an American vision of free enterprise to restructure the South. Eventually, the peninsula was split in two. Tensions remained high, culminating in the Korean War from 1950 to 1953.
Most of the fighting was actually done on the South Korean side. A lot of it was destroyed. All of the industry that had been built up, that was all leveled.
Everything you can see has been built over the last few decades, and it began absolutely from scratch. It was a country of unpaved road, ox carts, and thatched roofs just 40 or 50 years ago.
For years following the war, South Korea was governed by a series of military dictators. The country languished in poverty. Then, in 1961, a new dictator came to power. General Park Chung-hee wanted to grow Korean industry and engineered nationwide economic liberalization.
For the first time in Korean history, private property rights were truly protected. He liberalized markets more than they had ever been before.
It made South Korean economy to explode, grow very rapidly. In some year, rate of increase of per capita income was more than 12%. The average growth was almost 9% per year. It was incredible.
As South Korea developed its market economy, demands for legitimate political rights erupted. South Korea's first non-military president was sworn into office in 1992.
If we look at history, a great deal of economic success stories happened under control of the authoritarian governments. Once modern economy starts to grow, it produces middle class. It produces people who are independent-minded, who don't want to be bossed around by a guy in the presidential palace or royal palace, who sooner or later begin to demand political participation. This is what happened in South Korea. It was a country of subsistence farmers. It was transformed in 30 years, in one generation, into an extremely well-educated country of skilled workers, of professionals, of university students. And these people did not say thank you to the dictators. They said enough.
Political democracy does not always guarantee economic freedom. Very often, the majority of the people want big government. Majority of the people want to tax the rich people and redistribute it among themselves. The name of that sentiment is the economic democracy. It's not economic freedom. So we have to be very careful about the political democracy in order to protect economic freedom.
After completing his university degree, Dae-sung Kim built a venture capital company with a focus on small businesses run by fellow refugees from the north.
The North Korean defectors have no relatives in the south. They are mostly single and have no property. So borrowing money is the hardest thing for them, and also the most important thing.
Dae-sung meets regularly with various owners to discuss business issues, cultural differences and basic moral support. North Korean refugees have many challenges. They often change their names in order to avoid arrest and reprisals to their relatives who are still living in the north. Then they find they are not so easily integrated into the south. Ok-bun and her family escaped from North Korea 2 years ago.
I escaped with my husband, myself, and 2 sons. Mr. Kim helped us with loans. That was how we got started.
We figured that the plastic recycling business has a better competitive edge than other businesses. So we decided to take a risk by loaning them money.
By no means is plastic recycling an easy business. My body aches all over. It is hard work. We hope to be in a situation to transfer an established factory to my son in the future.
Young Gum fled North Korea with her family in 2008.
There was hardship in the beginning. A lack of capital was one thing. It's been almost a year now. We went through hard times, but we learned a lot.
Just being here like this is a dream. In North Korea, survival itself was too tough. So I never dreamed of such things as I now have.
I expect that someday North Korea will open her doors. When it does happen, the former North Korean defectors will be experienced business people backed with funds. Then we'll be able to play our roles in the reconstruction of North Korea.
Daesung's venture capital company has funded 29 small businesses to date.
My sisters are all engaged in running a business of their own. We all want to visit our parents' gravesite someday and want to play a role in helping North Korea become a wonderful country.
Today, South Korea is ranked 37 in the Fraser Economic Freedom of the World report, putting it in the top quarter of nations measured. North Korea is not included in the report due to a lack of reliable data, but we know that it is one of the world's least free economies.